Welcome to FootballGamePlan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Sit next to the fantasy guru himself, Tyler Merkovich, bringing you his top running back value, sleepers, and bust picks of the fantasy football season. Let's just get right into it. Who are your top values at the running back position?
Well, first of all, I didn't mention this in the draft strategy issue, but when you're doing running backs and wide receivers mostly, tier your players, look at these players and say, I love him as a number 2. Don't be too greedy. You don't want Adrian Peterson as your second running back, but rank him. I like this guy as my second guy, third running back, fourth running back, fifth running back. Tier these guys. And let's start out with Jonathan Stewart. You could get him in the 4th round. I know D'Angelo Williams splits time with him, but even in that, D'Angelo Williams could get injured. He did last year for a couple games, about 5 games. This guy had over 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's still young. He's coming into his prime, and he can still catch the ball. That offense really doesn't have too many weapons, so use the offensive line and use Stewart.
All right, look, Stewart is a great guy. 1,000 yards last year, so you can't argue with that. So number 2.
JAHVID Best. I mean, he's going to take a lot of the carries in the Detroit offense, and he could really break the big play. That's what we thought of Noshawn Moreno last year. If Best is healthy this year, he will do that. I know the offensive line will struggle, but they bring in Pettigrew, they bring in they bring in Scheffler, they get Pettigrew back, they bring in Burleson, so open things up for Best, who could use in the passing game too. Kevin Smith is injured.
Yeah, Best is a lot faster than Moreno, so expect Best to break runs over 40 yards routinely.
Ricky Williams, late 6th round, Brown, injury concerns right there, coming back from that Liz Frank injury, over 1,100 yards, first back ever to have 6 years between 1,000-yard seasons. He had 11 touchdowns last year. He does it through the 260 receiving yards, so Ricky Williams can do for you well, especially if you get him as a first backup.
Found it, Ricky Williams found it. So who else you have?
Thomas Jones, you get this guy late 7th, early 8th. He still has some life in those legs. And Jamal Charles, you know, he's not going to get the goal line carries. It's Thomas Jones, he's the bigger back. Over 1,400 yards last year, 10 touchdowns. So Thomas Jones, Kansas City is going to really want to improve that line. They bring in Ryan Liljer from the Colts, Casey Wigman from Denver. Jones will vulture the goal line carries.
Jones is also on the verge of breaking that plateau of 10,000 career yards rushing. So big ups to Thomas Jones, one of my favorite running backs in the league.
Ahmad Bradshaw, you got to go with him. Mid-8th round, you could take this guy. I think Brandon Jacobs has a lot of question marks, and Bradshaw's healthy. He had surgery this offseason, so if he's healthy, this guy could really perform. Only 778 yards last year, of course. So this guy, he could really break the big run. He could be the focal point of the Giants' offense.
He has to become more consistent. Now, who's the last value pick on your list?
Cadillac Williams. He really came on strong at the end of last year. How many injuries does this guy have? But he was healthy last year, came on strong at the end, killed the Saints in that game. Over 800 yards, of course, only 4 touchdowns, but Derek Ward really doesn't concern me. That offensive line is pretty underrated, so you could rely on Caddy. He has a whole offseason to really get healthy and get better from his injuries.
One of the better young backs in the league. I really like Cadillac Williams. Now, your top sleeper picks, who you have?
Let's go to a rookie in Cleveland. You can get this guy 8th round to early 9th. Montario Hardesty, Jerome Harris, another guy like Jamal Charles. I'm not sure if he's going to vulture the carries inside. If Hardesty really works a little bit and he stays healthy, behind that offensive line, which is very underrated, Joe Thomas, of course, Steinbeck, and Alex Mack coming on as a second-year player. Montario Hardesty can have a big year. Good value pick.
Yeah, I like him coming out of Tennessee. Who else you have on that list?
Well, sleepers, Donald Brown. Last year, I loved him, of course. I think he'll take more of a role. He was injured last year. First year to second year, we know the difference it could make. So, still a young guy. They're going to try to run the ball a lot more. So, I think Donald Brown will steal a lot of carries from Adai and be a pretty good fantasy sleeper.
Donald Brown should be the starter in Indianapolis. We've talked about that ad nauseum last season throughout the year. 3rd sleeper on your list.
Well, Darren Sproles. This guy is going to be mad if they love Matthews. You get him early, mid-10th to late 10th round. And I know he's not the prototypical back, but receiving-wise, and he's going to want to really make a mark this year. They draft Matthews, and when is he going to leave Sproles?
Right.
He's just playing for his future. He has a lot to prove. Darren Sproles on a good team, good offense. Look for him to be a sleeper.
Sproles has that baby speed when he just like takes off, so like, can't catch him. 4th on your list, who you got?
Tashard Choice, late 13th round. Barber really falling off. 349 yards last year, only 3 touchdowns, but The potential is there for Choice. If he takes over for Barber, it's not going to be Felix Jones. It's going to be Tashard Choice. So this guy has some upside. Look for him to be a late round sleeper.
Choice is more of a complete back. I like Choice a lot. Last on your list, who you got?
And the Eagles, they signed Mike Bell. You get this guy late 13th round to early 14th. They signed him. They're giving him over, I believe, $1.5 million. 654 yards last year with the Saints, 5 touchdowns. Not really a threat in the passing game, but that's all LaShawn McCoy. And I'm not sure McCoy will be the goal line back. This is why they got Bell, I think, to really put the Mock Hollies up front. And short yardage back is Mike Bell. So when you get inside the 5, they're going to give a lot of touches to Eagles. If they're not passing it in, Mike Bell's going to get the touchdown.
Bell is another guy that runs with a purpose. So let's go to your bust. Who are your running back busts this year?
Well, I like McCoy, but I don't know if he can get the touchdowns. He had 637 yards last year on 155 carries, only 4 touchdowns. He does it through the air, but I'm not sure he can get you that 7 touchdown mark. So if you're going to draft him as a top 15 running back, I'm not sure you're going to produce when it comes to touchdowns.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I like him as a player. Remember, football is separate from fantasy. So
great player. Though.
Right, 2 on your list.
Well, Jamal Charles, Thomas Jones, same thing with Mike Bell in Philadelphia. Thomas Jones, he's a journeyman now. He's been to a bunch of teams, and he's still going to want to prove, I'm young. He's probably mad at the Jets. They didn't bring him back, so he's going to want something to prove. And I think Charles helps out Jones, but it's just, you got to take Jones in this situation. The bigger backs who get the touchdowns. 60 yards is equal 1 touchdown, so Jones could get 1 yard and Charles could get 55 1-yard run, and it would be a lot more spectacular. That's why I like Jones for Charles, and Charles might be a bust because this guy's getting a lot of hype this offseason. He's taken in the 2nd round, some second, 3rd round.
Wow, so and you know, with that tandem, there's going to be less carries for Charles, so you're absolutely right. 3rd on your list.
Well, Brandon Jacobs, I'm sorry to say it, more games and more carries last year, but less productivity, less yards. Goes from 1089 to 835, and less touchdowns, goes from 15 to 6. So big question marks there. Is he healthy? They got to and they might lower his carries to keep his career going longer in the NFL. And Ahmad Bradshaw is healthy, so that's a concern. So basically, all my sleepers and values, they're coinciding with my busts here also. But I have one more for you, Ryan Matthews. I'm not sure if this guy can stay healthy. They're going to give him 250 carries, North Turner says. He looks like a one-cut guy, but health is a concern, and that's the offensive line. A lot expected of this guy. He played at Fresno State. I'm totally not sure about him. So Ryan Matthews, very questionable. I think he'll be bust.
So we've done 2 running back fantasy football videos, and you have yet to mention C.J. Spiller. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Not enough touches in Buffalo, I think. He could be the Reggie Bush, great player, but they're not going to give him the touches, and he's not going to be a touchdown vulture. I like those touchdowns, man. I like the touchdowns. I know you like the like 40-yard spin move, juke,
and touchdowns. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I'm not gonna rely on him scoring too many touchdowns this year. Future player, we'll see.
All right, we'll see. To check out more of our fantasy football videos, visit our website at footballgameplan.com/fantasy, or you can just go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan.